Welcome back to the Money Lab. So, I am absolutely pumped you're here today because we're diving into something that is, honestly, completely life-changing. We're looking at the exact science behind what we call exponential fuel. This is that invisible force separating the truly wealthy from everyone else. And by the end of our session today, you're going to know exactly how to harness it for yourself.
But first, let me throw a classic scenario your way. If I offered you $1 million, cold hard cash right now, or a single solitary penny that magically doubled every single day for exactly 1 month, which one are you taking? Think about it for a second. I mean, instinct usually screams, take the million. But here in the lab, we take the penny every single time. Why is that? Well,
Because of this staggering result, by day 30, that one little cent mathematically explodes into over $5 million. Yeah, over 5 million. This is mathematical proof of the magic of time. Today we're going to prove why telling yourself, oh, I'll just wait until I'm older and making more to start, is quite literally the most expensive mistake you'll ever make. And you'll see how a simple $100 a month can build an absolute empire if you just let the clock do the heavy lifting.
okay, here is today's official lab protocol. First, the tale of two investors. Second, the curve of wealth. Third, the not enough myth. And finally, the 10-year jumpstart.
Let's jump right into section 1, the tale of two investors and the early bird bonus. So let's run our first controlled case study. We've got investor A. Let's call them the early starter. They start at age 25, invest $200 a month for exactly 10 years, and then they just stop entirely. They never add another dime. Then we have investor B, the late bloomer. They wait until 35 to start, but they diligently invest that exact same $200 every single month for 30 straight years until they hit retirement at 65. So if we look purely at effort and cash invested, who ends up wealthier? The math here is completely counterintuitive. Investor A actually wins. I know, it's wild. Even though Investor A actively invested for 20 fewer years than Investor B, they still come out on top. Why? Purely because their money had a 10-year head start to compound. We call this the early bird bonus. Time is basically a lever, right? And the longer your lever, the less heavy lifting you personally have to do.
All right, move into section 2, the curve of wealth, or the physics of exponential fuel.
Let's get into the underlying mechanics of why that works. It comes down to this core concept, exponential growth, or what's commonly known as interest on interest. This happens when the returns on your money actually begin generating their own returns, creating this massive back-heavy wealth explosion. And I really want to emphasize that back-heavy part. For the first 10 to 15 years, your investment engine, well, it feels like it's barely moving. It's flat. Honestly, it's boring. And sadly, this flat, boring period is exactly where most people just throw their hands up and quit.
But stick with it, because watch what happens. At year 10, yeah, you've got low growth. You're putting in the work, but the results seem kind of tiny. Year 20, medium growth. You're finally picking up some real momentum. But year 30, boom, you hit this massive vertical spike. That right there is the famous hockey stick curve. Right around year 20, the interest on your interest actually starts to completely outweigh your out-of-pocket contributions. Your money literally starts having babies.
Which brings us to this absolutely mind-blowing reality. By year 30, that engine is generating more wealth in a single year than you earned in your entire first decade of working. Just let that sink in for a second. You aren't working for the money anymore. Those money babies are having their own babies, and the whole cycle just accelerates. It's true exponential growth. But, and this is a massive but, it only happens if you leave the investment engine turned on completely uninterrupted.
Let's hit section 3, the not enough myth, starting with now.
This addresses the biggest psychological roadblock out there, waiting until you have more money. Let's debunk this right now. Think about this comparison. Putting away just $50 a month starting at age 20 absolutely crushes putting away $500 a month starting at age 40. We always tell ourselves things like, oh, I'll start when I finally get that promotion, or I'll start when the car is paid off. Actually, scratch that. It's usually when I finally feel like an adult. But as the data proves, a tiny amount early on is infinitely more powerful than a massive amount later. Here in the lab, we don't wait for more. We start with now.
Because here is the harsh, urgent truth of the matter. Every single year you wait to start your investment engine, you are effectively doubling the amount of money you'll have to save later on to hit the exact same goal. Think about that. You can always hustle, take on a side gig, or cut your expenses to find more cash, but you can never, ever buy back lost time. Time is the one non-renewable resource in this entire equation.
Which brings us to our final section, the 10-year jumpstart. This is your specific lab task.
Now that we understand the science, we have to actually put it into practice. So here are the 3 exact steps you need to take to ignite your engine today. Step 1, hop online and find a free compound interest calculator. Step 2, project your current savings path and then immediately compare it to what would happen if you had started just 5 or 10 years earlier. Really feel that difference. And step 3, automate $25. We call this the ignition. Even if it's just $25, set up an automatic transfer. Get that clock ticking today.
Let's map out exactly what the exponential difference of an extra decade looks like, using a standard 7% baseline projection. Today, you ignite that small transfer, but say you scale that up to a simple $100 a month, fast forward and think about year 30. Now go into that calculator and change that 30 to a 40. You will witness literally hundreds of thousands of dollars gained purely in that final decade. That extra 10 years, that is the difference between just surviving your retirement and absolutely thriving in it.
So, once you've got this exponential engine running on all cylinders, you're going to face an entirely new problem: taxes. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought. How exactly are you going to keep the government's hands off of all of this explosive wealth? Well, make sure you hit subscribe because next week we are heading into the Tax Shield Lab to figure out exactly how to bulletproof your growth. Until then, get that clock started, get your engine ignited, and I'll see you back here in the Money Lab.